May I ask Dr. Lisa Anderson to come to the podium? You, Lisa Anderson, barely 3 weeks into your tenure as president of the American University in Cairo, faced the challenge of leading the university during the biggest popular uprising in Egypt in nearly a century. Mass protests swept the country, the police withdrew from the streets, national information and communication lines were shut down, and everything from banks to hospitals suspended operation, while millions of protesters demanded the fall of the government. The historic downtown campus of AUC on Cairo's now famous Tahrir Square saw days of fighting between protesters and government forces. From supervising the evacuation of hundreds of international students to ensuring staff access to emergency funds and medical assistance, from providing support to hard-pressed security staff, to reassuring faculty and staff and students in daily visits to university facilities throughout Cairo, you worked to ensure that the institution was secure and its community supported. Within days of the departure of the country's president, AUC resumed classes, the only educational establishment to operate in Egypt for nearly 6 weeks, while the university continued to serve as a model of commitment to student learning through the tumultuous years that ensued. Within weeks of the resumption of classes in 2011, you launched the University on the Square initiative, which continues today to collect oral histories and artifacts about the events of 2011, to preserve that moment in Egyptian and AUC history. Navigating the changing political fortunes of the country, ensuring respect for free expression on campus without yielding to partisanship, highlighting the university's nearly century-old mission to be of service to Egypt, you worked tirelessly to reinforce the public perception of AUC as both an asset to Egypt and the Middle East and as a model of the American liberal arts tradition, operating with courage and integrity in times of both peace and conflict. We honor you, Lisa Anderson, for inviting each of the presidential candidates to campus to speak and for fostering in your own students their own political voices. When they used those voices a year later to hold a strike at the university, you worked with moderate students to establish dialogue with the protesters and to resolve your differences without the intervention of the police. As a result of your leadership, your expertise as a political scientist, and your determination to make the university into a space of democratic dialogue and debate, the American University in Cairo responded to the revolution and its aftermath with powerful teaching, to chaos with an orderly return to daily life, and to challenge with compassion. By the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the American University of Paris, and with the recommendation of the faculty voting in assembly, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereunto appertaining. As you accept this degree in hood, I welcome you to the American University of Paris community.
President Schenck, trustees, faculty, guests, graduates, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the privilege of joining the ranks of your honorary alumni. Let me extend my congratulations to all of the graduates today and to their family, friends, and faculty. Graduates, you are the product of decades of investment. Your family, friends, and faculty have all spent years prodding you along, helping and encouraging you, sometimes even nagging and scolding you to get you where you are today. They are justly proud of you and proud of your achievements, and of course equally proud of themselves for having contributed to making you the success you are today. They're proud, yes, but also a little worried. For you are entering a world whose future contours are exceptionally uncertain. We have been equipping you for a life that we cannot imagine. This is an admission that we rarely make, but in truth, we have no idea what the world will be like when you are our age. Since we don't know what you will encounter, how can we give you advice? In fact, I think there are two important pieces of advice that transcend time and place, and I have been reminded of them in recent years, living in Cairo, where we, like you, learned that the future is unpredictable. What happens when you encounter the unexpected? Let me tell you one of the two stories I want to leave you with from Cairo. Soon after Egypt's 25th of January revolution began in 2011, I was talking to my driver about politics, as I always had, even under the old regime. We were discussing the merits of a newly appointed prime minister when, as we arrived where we were going, I asked the security guard sitting with us what his opinion of the political appointment was. He said, somewhat sheepishly, but like generations of Egyptians before the revolution, that he had no opinion. My driver turned to him and said, almost angrily, "This is a free country now. You have to have an opinion." The obligation to have an opinion, that is, to think for yourself, was not one with which most Egyptians had had a lot of experience, and it proved to be disconcertingly difficult. Considering options, weighing evidence, making choices is not, if you have never done it before, very easy, nor is recovering from mistakes when your choice doesn't turn out to be what you wanted or expected. In the subsequent years of turmoil in Egypt, many Egyptians found themselves unprepared, unable, and indeed sometimes even unwilling to shoulder that responsibility and bear the consequences of thinking for themselves. And we see the result of that in the country today. But what happened in Egypt in the heady days of the 25th of January revolution is happening everywhere. In many ways, we are living through a global revolution, and the world is becoming a free country, even if all the countries in it are not. And this will require that the citizens of this new world think for themselves. After all, we, your families, friends, and faculty, certainly cannot tell you what to think about what we ourselves cannot imagine. So more than facts and figures, more than ideas and techniques that you may have learned at your time at AUP, I hope you have discovered how to think for yourselves, how to have opinions, how to nurture a disposition of independence, agility, and mindfulness. Because as much as anything else, you have been taught this is what you will need to have learned. Those of you here at AUP already reflect an independent streak, a cosmopolitanness, a resourcefulness that will serve you well in this uncertain world. You think for yourselves, and all of us, your family, friends, and faculty, will benefit from that. And that brings me to my second piece of advice. Don't forget the rest of us. If you continue to use your capacity to think for yourself, you will more than redeem the investment that all of us, all of your faculty and your family and your friends have made in you. Your education is, as your grandparents undoubtedly told you, the one thing that they, whoever they are, can't take away from you. The world may be uncertain, and it may be more challenging over the course of your lifetime than any of us know now. But helping you refine the capacity to think for yourselves at an institution like AUP is the best possible investment that anyone could have made in your future. And all of those who made that investment will need you. By way of illustration, my final story, also true, also from Cairo. A graduate student at the American University in Cairo who works in my office told me of an encounter she had at a demonstration in Cairo at the height of the political turbulence in 2013. She and several of her friends, all revolutionaries, were at a protest against the then government as it began to get violent. Protesters started to throw rocks and Molotov cocktails at the police, and the police responded with tear gas and bullets. A thin, poorly dressed teenager ran up to our graduate student, she was obviously an affluent Cairene, and shouted urgently, get out, don't get shot, use your education to save us all." She was stunned, as I still am, and it is the message that I bring to you from Cairo. Please, please, use your education to save us all. Thank you.